The news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good day, welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. IDB warns Guyana against wild spending, says government must pay heed to the country's absorptive capacity regarding mega projects, cautions that significant oil revenues leave Guyana vulnerable to detrimental impacts of Dutch disease. Glenlal exposes Jagdio's double standards, yet to release oil production reports, but while in opposition, accused coalition of being secretive. ExxonMobil moves ahead with gas to energy project as citizens remain in the dark over feasibility. Guyanese oil and gas workers facing hell, union up in arms as several sent home until further notice. Norton to put pressure on secretive government, promises motions, protests and outreaches to increase citizens' activism. Meanwhile, man killed, children hurt after car crashed into concrete bridge. Stay tuned to stay informed.
The Guyana Elections Commission is currently conducting a registration exercise that will end on May 29, 2022. You can apply for registration if you will be 14 years and older by October 31st, 2022 and have never been registered. Apply for change or correction to your registration information such as names, date of birth and occupation. Apply for a transfer if you have changed your address since you were registered. Apply for a replacement ID card if your ID card was lost, stolen, damaged, or destroyed. You must bring along original documents to support your application. Don't delay. Visit the GCOM registration office responsible for your area today. For more information, visit www.gcom.org.gy. Follow us on Facebook at Guyana Elections Commission or contact us on 225-02779 or 223-9653. Email pro@gcom.org.gy.
And now for the news in detail. The current proven reserves in the Stabroek Block, which total almost 11 billion barrels of oil equivalent resources, along with the string of recent discoveries for 2022, will no doubt produce rapid changes in Guyana's overall economic structure. One of the most immediate effects will be the increase in the country's gross domestic product. However, an increase in GDP does not translate to higher standards of living for the citizens, who are the true owners of the oil wealth. In light of this irrefutable fact, the Inter-American Development Bank is once again urging Guyana to place greater focus on ensuring the oil wealth leads to economic transformation and not the mere doubling of GDP. The IDB has warned Guyana to be mindful of falling victim to the dreaded Dutch disease, given the temptation associated with the large increase in the country's income. It said such temptations include wild spending on numerous projects simultaneously, without regard for the nation's absorptive capacity. It warned that such practices lead to wastage and corruption, which the country must guard against at all costs, or oil could be its downfall. The Dutch disease is a concept that describes an economic phenomenon where the rapid development of one sector of the economy leads to a decline in other sectors. It is also often characterized by a substantial appreciation of the domestic currency. In other news, while serving as opposition leader, Bawrit Jagdio had much to say at his weekly press conferences, where he accused the former coalition government of being secretive when it comes to the management of the oil and gas sector. Now, 2 years later, as the vice president with responsibility for oil and gas in the PPP government, he is yet to prove himself different. This is particularly evident as key information pertaining to the management of the sector remains hidden from the public. This is the case with monthly oil production reports, for example. Kaieteur News publisher Glenn Lal reminded that Jagdeo had at that time chastised the coalition administration for keeping the Guyanese public in the dark. Jagdeo then went on to challenge Trotman to release the necessary information to keep the Guyanese population informed. However, being in command of the oil sector today, Jagdeo has failed to honor the very demands that he had made in the interest of keeping the nation informed. In other news, ExxonMobil is running full speed ahead with its gas-to-energy pipeline to be constructed at Wales on the west bank of Demerara, even as the country remains in the dark regarding the feasibility of the project. Works for the project are slated to commence by August, after the oil company receives the requisite approvals to start their aspect of the project. That is, the laying of the onshore and offshore pipelines to transport the gas from the Liza 1 and 2 sites in the Stabroek Block. In the meantime, the company has submitted its environmental impact assessment to the EPA through its subsidiary, ESSO, which will be developing the project. To this end, the developer has 11 planned consultations to hear from the public, commencing on Monday, May 9th. The meetings will take place in Regions 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And moving on, the National Mine Workers Union of Guyana is calling on the relevant authorities to investigate allegations of unfair treatment meted out to some Guyanese oil and gas workers who have been sent home from some agencies until further notice. The workers are peeved that all of those who have been sent home are Guyanese, while in particular Trinidadian staffers remain on the job. A statement from the president of the union, Sherwin Downer, said that not only were the employees having problems with available work, but issues also exist regarding payment of their NIS contributions, overtime pay, and availability of safety gear, among other matters. Downer said that while the laboring masses were busy celebrating May Day across Guyana, it was not quite the same for those oil and gas workers who complained bitterly about several issues that they were facing at a named company providing services to the local oil and gas sector. And moving on, given an apparent difficulty in accessing pertinent information from the government in regard to the oil and gas sector, in particular, opposition leader Aubrey Norton has signaled his intention to up the pressure against the government with the help of a more informed and educated society. Norton is adamant that much more has to be done to hold the current government accountable, and is currently on a number of outreaches trying to get matters of serious concern to the public. Norton added that there are a number of ways that the opposition is working to get citizens involved in bringing pressure to the PPP administration so that more information could be brought to the people. He noted that the use of more parliamentary motions, street protest, and education drives are among the many avenues being considered. And in other news, a 28-year-old man was killed and his daughters injured when the car he was in crashed into a concrete bridge at Windsor Forest, West Coast Demerara, early Thursday morning. Dead is 28-year-old Kelvin Jisiawan of Samata Point Grove, East Bank, Demerara. He had earlier dropped off his wife at the Purika Stelling and was heading back home with his 2 daughters when the accident occurred. His 2 daughters received injuries on their bodies and are currently hospitalized. According to a police report, the accident occurred about 4 hours 15 on the Windsor Forest Public Road, West Coast, Demerara. It was further stated that Jisiawan was proceeding east along the northern side of the said road in a motor car at a fast rate when he lost control of the vehicle, swerved south, and drove off the road. The motor car then collided with a concrete bridge, which was located in the southern side of the road. The time has now moved on to 12 hours 10 in Guyana. You're listening to The Radio with a Difference. We will resume after the break.
Need an easy Mother's Day gift that mom will love? Gift her the all-new DL4 for only $12,000 with a bigger display, better camera, and the best apps. Plus, get a free 30-day Prime bundle with purchase. Be mom's hero this Mother's Day. Visit a Digicel store near you. Digicel, better together.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. According to the Guyana Press Association, on Thursday, as the two-day conference for media workers commemorate World Press Freedom Day concluded, if politicians across the divide claim to have any modicum of interest in improving the standard of journalism, then they ought to immediately cease utilizing social media influencers in the place of journalists. In fact, to continue doing so is to contribute to the degradation of journalism at the altar of expediency, of reach, likes, and shares. The conference was hosted at the Arthur Chong Conference Center from May 3rd to 4th. Yesterday, the Media Association issued a statement where it, among other things, called on the government to stop using social media influencers to do the work of journalists. The body pointed out that the use of such personalities leads the public to believe that such social media content is in keeping with globally accepted standards of journalism. Meanwhile, in 2018, the National Assembly had allocated insufficient funds to pay over 100 Supreme Court employees and to offset other expenses of the judiciary. This was reported in the judiciary's annual report for the year 2018. In fact, the sums that were allocated to the Supreme Court for that year were unable to meet the salary expenses for employees such as court manager, judicial research assistant, and assistant registrar. According to the report, there was also a shortfall to meet benefits and allowances for duty, traveling, telephone and house allowances, among others. The allocated sums were also unable to meet the statutory wages and salaries for the temporary appointment of 2 justices of appeals for 6-month period, the permanent appointment of 1 puisne judge, salary in lieu of leave for the Honorable Chancellor for 2 months, Chief Justice for 1 month, and 2 puisne judges 1 month each. In other news, police investigators in Region 2 are currently trying to unravel the mystery behind the death of a hunter whose remains were found on Tuesday with gunshot wounds to the chest in the jungle of Bethany in the Essequibo coast. 2 loggers have since claimed that they had heard when the hunter, identified as 54-year-old Bharat Ramdihal, better known as Suresh, was shot, but cannot say how it happened because they were a fair distance away from him. The 2 men are presently in police custody assisting with investigations. And coming from Paho, new estimates from the World Health Organization show that the full death toll associated directly or indirectly with the COVID-19 pandemic, described as excess mortality, between January 1st, 2020 and December 31st, 2021, was approximately 14.9 million, range of 13.3 million to 60.6 million. Excess mortality is calculated as the difference between the number of deaths that have occurred and the number that would be expected in the absence of the pandemic based on data from earlier years. Excess mortality includes deaths associated with COVID-19 directly due to the disease or indirectly due to the pandemic's impact on health systems and society. On Thursday, it was reported by the Ministry of Health that 15 more COVID-19 cases were recorded in the country, which now brings the total overall confirmed cases to 63,533. And to wrap things up, let's turn the pages of today's Kaieteur News to page 7, that is dedicated to being blunt. Technology is boss. Indeed, technology is one of mankind's greatest inventions. Through the use of technology, many a crime has been solved. In fact, technology has even proven to be an effective tool to expose those who forked tongues, those who, when in opposition, promised to do right by the nation, but when in office, do worse than their predecessor. It is for people of this ilk that we must fall on our knees daily in prayer, in hopes that they will change from their wicked ways and not be subjected to eternal damnation. After all, the Creator did mandate us to love those who despise us. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.